William Zepeda is the new WBC Lightweight Champion of the world after a unanimous decision victory over Lamont Roach Jr. out in Las Vegas. Very competitive fight, my people, like very competitive. Listen, the scorecards was a bit wide, do you know what I mean, in favor of Zepeda. 117, 111, 117, 111 for two of the judges, and one judge had a 118, 110. Unanimous, clear decision victory for William Zepeda. No controversy, man. Normally, with Lamont Roach, there's always a bit of controversy, you know what I mean, in his title fights. He had that fight against Tank Davis, remember, where he scored a knockdown. Well, he didn't score a knockdown. He got a knockdown. Should have been scored a knockdown, but the referee somehow let Tank Davis get away with it, and the fight ended up being a draw, which was very unfair on Lamont Roach because he should have been the new champion. And then against Pitbull Cruz, again, very competitive fight. Me personally, I felt like Lamont Roach just about edged Pitbull Cruz, but they gave it a draw. So 2 title fights in a row, back-to-back for Lamont Roach. He gets a draw. Coming up into this 3rd title shot against William Zepeda, I was thinking, yo, it's about time Roach is going to get the dub, man. You know what I mean? Could it be 3rd time lucky? But it just wasn't to be. It wasn't to be because this was a very determined William Zepeda, do you know what I mean, who was laser-focused, sharp, relentless, and the pressure that he brought to this fight, it just proved to be too much for Lamont Roach. So no controversy whatsoever, and I'm sure Lamont Roach here, even at the end of that fight, listen, man, he said in a post-fight interview, he just didn't have enough. He didn't do enough. He congratulated William Zepeda, like for having a great game plan, for having a great performance, and that's what it's about, man. It just wasn't a William Zepeda, it just wasn't a Lamont Roach fight, in Vegas, man. William Zepeda just had the wrong style for Lamont Roach, and it just couldn't deal with the pressure, man. Listen, I feel bad for Lamont Roach because I think by now, yeah, he should have been champion. You know what I mean? He should have won one of those early 2 title shots that he had. He should have won at least one of them, at least the one against Tank Davis. That I believe that there was a bit of funny business happening there. He got cheated, man. I think he deserved to win that fight against Tank Davis. If that knockdown was scored, he would have won because the fight was a draw. So for Lamont Roach, he has to go back to the drawing board, work harder, man. Do you know what I mean? Look at the mistakes that he made against William Zepeda and just work harder, man. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the time will come for him. Whether he's going to get another title shot straight up, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to probably have to win 1 or 2 fights before he gets back into a title contention. So he has to just find a way. He has to find a way. Go back to the gym, work harder, find a way to just get him over the line because he just has not been able to get over the line at 135 pounds. He got over the line, was champion at 130, but 135 pounds, it just hasn't happened for him yet. He has to try and do something different, man, to get over the line. But he's a solid fighter. I really like Lamont Roach. I think he's got all the skills, but against William Zepeda, I think he just had the wrong game plan. Maybe because, maybe they looked at Liam Zepeda and thought, you know what? He's been out of the ring for almost a year. Well, he's been out over a year because the last time William Zepeda was in the ring was against Shakur Stevenson back in July 2025. So over a year and, just under a year, slightly under a year. And maybe Lamont Roach and his team thought, you know what? He ain't going to be able to bring that pressure for 12 rounds, He might start off strong early on, but can he keep up for 12 rounds? Maybe they thought William Zepeda will slow down come the mid-rounds. I'm talking from the 5th to the 8th. And on the stretch, Lamont Roach was going to be able to, take over and maybe run with the fight and will be able to win the fight, in the last 3 or 4 rounds, whatever. But it wasn't to be because William Zepeda, to his credit, he kept the same intensity, the same pressure that he started off from round 1 all the way to round 12, man. He was relentless throughout the fight. And you can tell Lamont Roach was uncomfortable the whole fight. He was just unable to keep the fight at the center of the ring. He didn't have the answers to the pressure that William Zepeda was bringing. I mean, I haven't got a CompuBox stat like to show to you, but I looked at the zone and their numbers, and he was just outboxed. You know what I mean? Like, he was just out-volumed, outmaneuvered by William Zepeda. I'm talking from the jabs. I'm talking power punches landed. I'm talking volume. I'm talking, body shots. William Zepeda came out on top in all those stats. I mean, he just threw loads of punches every single round. I think he was averaging about 70 to 80 punches per round, man. He was that relentless in the fight against Lamont Roach. And Lamont Roach just couldn't figure out a way. He couldn't come up with a solution to the pressure that William Zepeda was bringing. Do you know what I mean? And that was really the difference. And another major difference that I noticed during the fight, watching the fight, is that the power from both fighters, as in Roach was having success with his right hand. He was landing his right hand quite a lot, yeah, but it wasn't having the necessary impact on William Zepeda. It just wasn't. But on the other hand, in contrast, when William Zepeda was throwing his power punches, his straight left got into the body. You can tell from the body demeanor of Lamont Roach, he wasn't liking it. Do you know what I mean? He was having an impact on him, and you can see the grimace in his face. Like, it was like, damn, that hurt. And sometimes he would smile or he would shake his head. Usually, when a fighter is doing those antics, smiling, sticking their tongue out or shaking their heads, you know that punch hurt. Do you know what I mean? You know that punch had an effect on them, and the size. William Zepeda just looked much bigger and stronger in that ring against Lamont Roach. He was able to maneuver Lamont Roach. He was able to push him back, especially with the shoulder barges, barging him, pushing him back, bullying him in that ring. And Roach just didn't have the answers for it. If you look at Lamont Roach's last 2 title fights here, he was fighting smaller guys. Pitbull Cruz is what, about 5'3"? How tall is Tank Davis? About 5'3", 5'4". Lamont Roach is 5'7". In William Zepeda's 5'9". So Zepeda had 2 inches on him in terms of height, much bigger in terms of size. You can see the difference in shoulders, when you looked at both fighters in the ring. And also Zepeda had a reach as well. So he just wasn't able to deal with all the circumstances in that ring. I'm talking size, reach, power, volume, pressure. All of those combined was just a bit too much for Lamont Roach, and he just had no answers. He boxed well, but it just wasn't enough to overcome the volume and pressure from William Zepeda. And William Zepeda, for someone who's been out of the ring for a year, for him to have that level of conditioning, the level of fitness and discipline that he showcased in that fight, you just have to respect him. You have to give him more credit, because I personally thought that he was going to fade around the mid-rounds. And I thought that Lamont Roach would take over with his boxing skills and just run away with the fight and win. Not a comfortable victory, but I thought he would win about 2 or 3 rounds. You know what I mean? So it didn't happen, and that you just have to respect William Zepeda and give credit to him, because he stayed disciplined in there, stuck to the game plan. You know what I mean? He never backed off. He never allowed Lamont Roach to get into any sort of rhythm, get his boxing going, never allowed it. And whenever he took a shot, he came straight right back. You know what I mean? Sometimes a fighter will take a shot to the liver, big right hand to the face, and back off and kind of like, you know what I mean? Like wait, try and wait for a second wind to go again. Now, William Zepeda stuck to Lamont Roach like glue. Never let him establish this distance, get into range, get into any sort of rhythm whatsoever. Put the pressure on Lamont Roach from round 1 all the way to round 12. And if you're gonna beat Lamont Roach, that is the strategy that you have to come up with. Pitbull Cruz tried it. He was successful in the early rounds, but you can see Lamont Roach taking over in the mid rounds, and Lamont Roach go stronger, because Lamont Roach is a dog. He's a tough guy. You know what I mean? You're not just gonna obliterate him. You're not just gonna run away with a fight that easily against Lamont Roach. He's a dog. He's a fighter. He's solid, you know, and Pitbull Cruz wasn't able to keep that pressure and that relentlessness the same way William Zepeda was able to do in this fight. That's why Lamont Roach was able to come back in that fight, and it was a draw. William Zepeda didn't make that mistake. William Zepeda stayed on Lamont Roach, kept the pressure up. He was relentless, kept catching Lamont Roach with that straight left, guy into the body. The right hook was money. He just pushed Lamont Roach back onto the ropes and never really let him establish any type of dominance in any round. I mean, Lamont Roach, every single round, Lamont Roach was in it. He was landing big shots, but every time Lamont Roach landed one big shot, William Zepeda would come back with a 4-punch combination. Do you know what I mean? And to the eye of the judges, he was winning the ring generalship. He was controlling the ring generalship. In terms of that physical battle, he was winning that. And because he was pressuring Lamont Roach, pushing him back onto the ropes and throwing volume, even though not every punch was landing, some was like being blocked by the gloves, the arms. But the fact that he was throwing the volume, he looked a busier fighter. He looked like the guy who was trying to, you know, initiate contact. I think the judges just gave him those rounds. And I can show you how I scored the card because I was doing a live watch along, and you can see my card. You know, it's the same as the other two judges. I had it 117, 111 to William Zepeda. So exactly the same as the two judges, you know, scorecards on the fight. So we both watched the same fight, me and the judges, and we scored it the same. And shout out to William Zepeda. After the fight, in a post-fight interview, they asked him, who would you like to take on next? Pitbull, is Shakur Stevenson, is he still at 135? I think he is in. He's bouncing between 135, 140. And, you know, you got Pitbull Cruz, you got Tank Davis as well, 135. So Zepeda, he said, listen, I just want to become undisputed, man. I want to take on all the champions at lightweight, you know, bring them on, and I want to become champion. Listen, if he has that level of condition in every single championship fight, if he can bring that pressure, and also William Zepeda's got a great chin on him. He took some big shots from Lamont Roach. If he can keep that chin, you know, if he can bring that pressure, he's got a chance. Undisputed, maybe a bit of a stretch because, you know, if you go Shakur Stevenson there, I don't know. Is Shakur Stevenson still got a belt? I'm not sure. I haven't really checked, but let me know in the comments. You know, Tank Davis. Maybe Tank Davis catches him on the way in because Tank Davis is a very good counter puncher, so it might be tough for William Zepeda to beat someone like a Tank Davis. But listen, he's got a chance, man. Him against Pitbull Cruz, wow. What a fight. That's going to be proper Mexican style, man. No one's taking a step back in that fight. So, yeah. William Zepeda, great performance. You know, probably the highlight of his career so far. Absolutely went out there and smashed it. Well-deserved new WBC Lightweight Champion. Let me know what you thought of that fight, my people, man. Where does Lamont Roach go from here? 3 title fights in a row. Hasn't been successful. 2 draws and a loss. Where does he go from here? Back to the drawing board. Who would you like to see him fight? And also let me know who would you like to see William Zepeda fight as well. Next up, Pitbull Cruz, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson. Who do you want to see him fight? Let me know in the comments, my people. I would really appreciate it. Do me a favor, please. Smash the likes. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And also hype up the channel. I would really appreciate that. Hit the notification bell so that way you never, ever miss one of our videos whenever it drops. Do all the above. It don't cost you a thing. I would really appreciate it. It's me, your boy Enzo, the realest in the game. I'll see you next time with another one. Until then, stay blessed, my people. Peace.